Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is why are Americans so obsessed with ice cubes?
Oh, so we did a video recently, we said Americans are obsessive ice cubes pretty much, which we love by the way.
Yeah.
Hotels, ice vending machines, which we've never seen. Massive vending machines outside of shops.
Yep.
Which is mad, isn't it?
Ice in every drink that you get.
Every drink you get, which we do, I think if you're out and about in the UK, restaurants, stuff like you probably get ice. But when we make drinks at home, I'd say it's probably 7 or 8 times out of 10 you don't have ice.
Yeah.
It's an effort to get ice.
And I'd say like, I guess actually a lot of the self-vending machines do have ice option. Like, think about Burger King. They do
Fast food night you get ice as well, and like say yourself you can. But if you make them at home, most of the time you don't go ice just because it's hassle and you don't really have much ice in.
Yeah.
But Americans do, which we absolutely love. But let's find out why.
Okay, let's go.
It does make the drink taste better, so that's probably the reason.
Yeah, it does taste better cold.
Smash that button, smash the subscribe button, we'd really appreciate it, and let's check it out.
One of the first things that pilgrims would have seen upon reaching present-day America would have been water on the rocks. It seems only appropriate then that water on the rocks has also become a popular American drink. And I'm not talking about seaweed-infested water from New England, I'm talking about water served with ice. Of course, I use the example of water to service a really great pun. But honestly, Americans put ice in almost everything, from cocktails to mocktails, from coffee to tea. They even sell bags of it at the petrol station. And to people in my homeland of Britain, where frozen water is used far more sparingly, America's ice cube culture can at times seem like an obsession. So,
it's good,
is it? And why do Americans insist on bulking up their liquids with more liquids, albeit solid ones? Well, as a British person myself who moved to the United States, such questions have been at the forefront of my mind this summer, not least because my wife and I recently got an ice making machine.
We need that.
It's great. If you would like this machine of a YouTube channel to reach 1 million subscribers and you haven't yet...
Oh, I need an ice maker.
If we had an ice maker, we'd probably put ice in.
I'd use ice all the time.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's so long to fill up the little cubes and put them in the freezer.
Yeah.
You can only fill up like 12.
I imagine you could probably get ice makers over here. I don't know.
I want an ice maker.
Oh, we can.
I need an ice maker.
Maybe post
That might be
Christmas
our Christmas present.
New Year
to
present or
us.
something like that. Maybe.
Become one yourself, do that now.
Subscribe here as well, we'd appreciate it.
In the meantime, here are some of the actual reasons that Americans love their ice, some of which might surprise you. And before I skate on thin ice with my British subscribers, I want to start this deep dive by addressing a popular misconception among Americans, that European countries don't themselves have ice cubes. This, of course, is completely and utterly a little bit false. In Britain, for example, not only do many households have trays for creating them, but Brits, albeit to a lesser extent than Americans, do consume iced tea and the like. But definitely not as much as as hot.
I think they do, but I've never seen someone drinking iced tea over here.
What?
I don't think I've ever seen anyone drinking iced tea over here.
It's definitely on menus.
Oh no, it is. I'm saying it's a bar, but I don't think I've ever been at a meal with somebody who's ordered iced tea.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, in my whole life. But it is a thing and people do get it as well. I'm just trying to show the rarity of it. It's not that common to get it, but it is about.
That's literally what it is.
Yeah, I'm backing him up.
The reason for this misconception appears to be that ice water is not typically served in UK restaurants unless one specifically asks for it, and even then you only get about 1 or 2 ice cubes. In the US, most restaurants will serve it by default, with waitstaff frequently ensuring that your glass remains topped up. In other words, it's not that Britain eschews ice cubing altogether, it's just that Americans take it to another level. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, Lawrence, this video should have been over in 20 seconds. The answer is simple. Americans just like to be different. And while that seems to be the default perception toward most things America, I've read enough to know that this belief doesn't always hold water. Pun intended. In other words, ice cube fanaticism, much like American vocabulary, is not so much a product of American hysteria, but American history. You see, America's ice fixation in this, the era of refrigeration, owes much to the century that preceded it. In 1800, when the US was still young enough to be covered under its parents' healthcare plan, one American in particular came up with a revolutionary idea: ice harvesting. This was where icemen would cut huge blocks of ice from lakes and rivers for the express purpose of using them for refrigeration. They were sort of like ice cubes, but for giants. In fact, the blocks weighed up to 300 pounds, which is roughly equal to 3 large dogs, or The Undertaker. Because this was during a time when icemen didn't have a direct line to Charles Xavier, they had to enlist horses to transport.
Heavy and cold.
Yeah, like...
transport the ice, which would then be stored in special ice houses from where it could be exported. And why am I telling you this in 2024? Because for the next century and a half, ice harvesting became a massive industry in the United States.
Okay.
It was the brainchild of Bostonian businessman Frederick Tudor, who would later be dubbed the Ice King, despite Boston only recently saying it didn't want a monarch. Tudor made an absolute fortune selling to other countries ice harvested in New England, further adding substance to my water on the rocks joke from earlier.
In fact, by the 1880s, ice was America's second largest export after cotton.
Among the beneficiaries were
that's
Cuba,
mad.
India, England, and
It's
most
literally
notably
water.
Norway, which subsequently began its own ice harvesting industry.
And of course, ice harvesting gradually benefited American society.
Indeed, it was known as ice harvesting because ice was literally considered a crop. At first, this
That's
crop
mad,
would be
innit?
distributed to the wealthy who would use it to preserve meat and beverages, something that was of particular importance during those hot summer months.
I guess they
as
didn't
the
have
century wore on-
fridges.
So if you have a way of creating ice, I guess, then it's
But also, like, back in the day, they didn't have fridges to keep things
Yeah,
cold,
they
like
could just-
meat, so I guess that's why they used ice.
Yeah,
and
ice
then they
is the
could
way.
drink it after.
Ice was made
maybe
available
not
to
raw
businesses
meat.
up
Oh, this water's a bit raw
Yeah,
meaty.
maybe not.
and down the country.
It revolutionized various food markets because it meant that meat, fish, and vegetables could be more easily stored and transported without rotting. Moreover, by the 1860s, when Tudor was busy seeking revenge against his barber, 2/3 of homes in Boston and New York received ice deliveries on the daily.
America presumably had so much ice that the only natural next step was to start putting it in drinks.
Don't believe me? Well, American author Mark Twain, who was obsessed with technological invention, not only himself confirmed it, but cited it as a uniquely American practice.
I think that there is only one thing that can be called by the wide name American. That is the national devotion to ice water. That sounded exactly like him.
Like Twain, ice harvesting continued on into the 20th century, along with ice cubes.
Indeed, it was during the Great Depression that America gave us the first flexible ice tray.
Today,
Okay.
of course, these are normally made of plastic, but back
Yeah.
then, metal trays were all the rage.
Around the same time, General Electric rolled out the so-called monitor-top refrigerator, the world's first mass-produced
It's like a bedside
residential
table.
fridge.
It does, doesn't it? It's very small. It's not like your American fridges today.
The rise of the personal refrigerator soon led to the mass production of its cousin, the freezer.
By 1948, around 90% of American homes were equipped with a fridge.
Oh, wow.
Compare this
Okay.
to Britain, still reeling from the economic effects of World War II, where only 2% of homes could say the same.
And the
That's a big
refrigeration
difference.
boom ultimately meant two things.
Number one, America's love of ice cubes had now reached a level of convenience that would have made Mark Twain do this with his face. And number two, by the middle of the 20th century, the ice harvesting industry, which had then existed for 85% of US history, died out overnight. In doing so, it left behind a legacy still felt by the global food industry today. But it also played a central role in establishing America's warm relationship with ice.
Okay, history's schmistery, you might be thinking, but why are Americans still doing this in 2024? Can't they just cool it? Well, that's exactly what they are doing.
You see, just as British winters don't deliver nearly as much ice as those of the northern
The
United
puns.
States, British summers are not nearly as hot. So, back when I heroically traversed the
See,
Rockies
for
in
me,
99
this.
degrees...
Yes, that is. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, a cold drink on a hot day is great.
Oh, it's great.
I just genuinely prefer cold drinks
Oh,
anyway.
they definitely taste nicer.
Like, even in the winter, I still have ice in my
Like
drink.
if you have a Coke and
It
you put ice
tastes
in it,
so
it does
much
taste so
better.
much better. But it's the effort of doing it, so we don't do it. Often.
Yeah, but I feel like it doesn't really have anything to do with the weather for me. I can have it in any weather.
Yeah, it is. just
If I can be
nice.
bothered. to do it.
Heat.
Yeah.
Anything less than ice water would have been an insult.
And when I say I traversed the Rockies, I meant that I walked up a hill in Utah. The point is, the cult of Ice Cube has persisted in America partially because its devotees derive practical use from it.
Of course, as heat waves become more common in the UK, might the same thing happen
Is that the
there?
UK?
After all, the UK did eventually get on board with refrigerators, with that 2% figure rising to 97% in the
Eventually.
years since.
To me, this seems unlikely. Not only is that like comparing apples and oranges, but UK fridges and freezers are typically much smaller than those in America. In other words, not every British family has the real estate to prioritise ice cubes, especially when feast ice creams exist.
In America, not only do larger units mean more space for ice trays, but some models even have an ice cube dispenser, as
Yeah,
I found
cool.
at my previous address. And some of my more observant subscribers might be thinking, wait a minute, what happened to the big fridge that came with your house.
We're not 5 people, it had to go. Which is why we got a smaller fridge and an ice-making machine. However, all of this talk of 4-sided objects got me thinking, perhaps the ultimate reason that Americans love ice cubes is that Americans also have a broader love of rectangles.
Under a flag that boasts more rectangles than, say, 99% of all of the countries in the world, in a country of rectangular counties, some of which form rectangular panhandles or knitted quilts, or the utilization of land in America as illustrated by Forbes. In cities of rectangular neighborhoods in which rectangles live side by side in total harmony, there are rectangular lawns containing circular fire pits for safety reasons. But in the rectangular houses, there are rectangular kitchens with their rectangular freezers, with rectangular trays, with smaller rectangular trays that make rectangular ice.
And if you haven't seen my video on 6 food dishes,
the next step
a lot of rectangles.
A lot of rectangles. You guys love them. What do we love as a country, Britain? I don't know. Triangles?
Tea.
Tea? Yeah, we just like tea. Yeah, it's not shape, we're just going to go tea. Smash that button, guys. Smash the subscribe button. Enjoy that?
Yeah, it was good.
Lawrence's link's in the description as always, and we'll see you legends in the next one. Peace.